Welcome to Stick to Rugby, brought to you by Defender. Now we've got an amazing fill-in today. That's what I'm going to call him. Rees-Zammit is with us for the day. Great to have you here. Now, there's a reason why you're here.
Special teams.
Yes, there's a reason why you're here. Tell us what you're doing on the 21st of June at Ealing Trailfinders, please.
Yeah, so we got a Jag Tag Day, so yeah, it's very exciting. It's basically a flag football day for kids. It's a family day out. Bouncy castles, everything. Flag football. It's 1 till 5. It's free as well, so you just got to sign up on the Jags website, and it's going to be an exciting day for all.
What is flag football for us?
Well, try and think about flag rugby. Like as a kid, it's obviously not contact or anything, so it's literally just playing American football,
good for me.
But with flag. Yeah.
All Lawrence.
You're more the bouncy castle for sure.
Genuine. I was in charge of a bouncy castle on Penarth Pier.
Oh my!
And honestly, it was £3 for 5 minutes. Well, 5 minutes up, I was on the whistle. I was getting the kids off. I was bloody brilliant at it.
Yeah. Kids had a dreadful time. Shanks, however.
Did you have to keep flats on there all day?
So, talk to us about the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah.
That's where you play.
Yeah, that's where I'm playing.
Yeah.
Playing wide receiver. We've got completely new coaching staff in this year, which is really exciting. Obviously we didn't have a great year last year, but hopefully with new staff, new system, I think we definitely got the players to be able to push on and do it.
For you, it's almost, it's very strange to have, because you were at Kansas and then you just sort of settled in there, proved yourself, got the relationship with a certain group of staff, then you move to a whole new city, new place, you've got to prove yourself and get to know and develop that relationship with a whole new set of staff.
Yeah, it hasn't been. It hasn't been an ideal, start to the NFL for me. Yeah. Changing positions, changing teams, having to learn 3 different playbooks in a year. Yeah. It's been pretty tough, but
I don't mind swapping you, mate.
Yeah,
you drive this Defender.
I bet it makes rugby.
Chauffeur.
You're not pretty enough or quick enough.
It makes what you do in rugby relatively straightforward, doesn't it? When you there's so much to take. It must be so much to take in over there.
Yeah, it's a lot of it is just pure mental. Physically, it's not as demanding as rugby, nowhere near. But mentally, you have to learn 500 plays. You have to go into a game with 100 plays. But obviously, they just get called in the quarterback's headset, and then he goes into a huddle and just says the play. And within 3 seconds, you've got to line up and snap the ball. So
I'm assuming though, a lot of them will be variations of one, but then you'll obviously have completely different.
Yeah. So there's concepts where everyone will know what routes they're running, but then you can do it in. I think we've got 80 different formations. Yeah. So you'll know where to go, but then you've got to think about the concept, and it depends on the formation, which concept, which route you're running. It's very confusing.
And a bit like rugby, you could not be getting the ball, but the line you run is
affecting the whole play. Yeah.
Now George Gregan, guys, is on the show today. One of the biggest legends to come out of Australia. Obviously a captain as well. I want to talk to you about best captains. Lol, have you ever captained?
Briefly. Briefly, captain by country actually, and then became the spiritual leader is the way I would describe it.
Oh,
eventually.
That's very good.
Spiritual leader. But when I first came into the England team, which was way back in the Iron Age, 1995, Will Carling was the captain of England. So
not a bad one then.
It was do you know what? A very good captain, and probably didn't get enough credit for it really, because his record as an England captain is extraordinary. We finished with Martin Johnson as the guy who led us for a couple of years all the way through to the World Cup, and the best captains tend to be some of the best players in the world really. I mean, George is captained, and you just go out there and do what you do. So.
Does that mean you were the best player? Because you captained England to the Rugby World Cup?
By LOL's logic, I think so. I'm going to take
I'll go along
that.
with that. But who did you learn from?
Oh man. So I was really fortunate. We had a lot of like senior players. So Catherine Spencer was in when I came in, but people like Joe Yap, people like Maggie Alfonsi, Rochelle Clark, Tamara Taylor, having those experienced head around you. Because I was only about 25, 26 when I was England captain. Probably still wasn't like that sure of who I was going to be as a person, never mind then trying to kind of enforce others.
What about you, Lewis?
Well, I had Alan Wynne-Jones was my captain.
The GOAT.
So, so I don't think I need to say much more, but absolute warrior. And obviously I was quite young going into the squad, so it was someone who leads by example, and you didn't want to let down.
It's their standards though, isn't it? Like not just on the field, but like training, the way they recover, everything.
Mean, Alan Wynne-Jones was incredible. Like, you know, you have a water break and he's sprinting to the next drill. Like, and then all the boys are having to sprint because they don't want to be stood there drinking water. They want to be heading on to the next drill. So I think he was definitely the perfect captain for Wales.
I just think so much of winning is about believing, and when you look around the dressing room and you've got people like Alan Wynne or a Martin Johnson or a Willie John McBride, you know, they have an aura and a sort of just a presence that, you know, other players look at them, maybe they haven't got quite the same level of confidence, and they just give you that kind of reassurance, really, that everything's going to be okay today. You know what I mean?
I think with captains, you have to be able to relate, don't you, to everyone. Yeah. So you have to be able to relate to the ones that are a little bit wild, the ones that are a little bit quiet. Yeah. And that's your main job.
And obviously, you know, often throughout many years.
I wasn't captain.
I was about to say, did you captain anybody?
I was going to say, you set us up for that one. You tee them up, Shank, you'll knock them out the park.
Like I was playing with Flats, and Flats wasn't demanding. I'll be throwing bounce passes. I'm saying,
just
sorry,
to confirm,
Flats.
not David Flatman now. We both had X Factor. Like, did you? What are you doing that for?
It sounded good.
Yeah.
And I've heard the sound of a few field goals. Rob Andrew. Yeah. Who's that bloke? What's his name? Johnny.
Oh yeah.
I've heard them all. I know the sound of a good strike.
There must be 50 metres of pitch left, just me and Tuasova. Someone passes him the ball, he catches it, and he pulls his calf. I couldn't have been more relieved in my life.
Oh my goodness, it's Cully. He never slowed down when he changed. He basically ankle broke me. I'm sweating, then by the time I got to my ankle, I'll fall over. It's like I'm drunk. The obvious one that concerns me, and I saw him play on the weekend, is Finn Russell, because he can win matches. It's nearly 30 degrees at kickoff at 8 o'clock at night. So it was what we wanted. Like, you always want to start.
He looks hot just thinking about that.
Yeah, the sun, we don't agree.
There was no sun then. It was just the lights.
Just the heat. I can burn in the rain, mate.
We defended like sort of Aussie dingoes, so to speak. We were on the ball.
When you say we, I mean you were.
I was
you were one tackling.
I was kind of in behind organising, making sure we didn't,
100%.
Right then.
You ready?
Shall we talk about these?
Yeah, very good, I have to say.
So these are made by producer Georgie today. Our local delicacy, if I could say. I've already had. Have you had one yet?
No, I don't know what they are.
Because I've got peanut butter still in my teeth. They are a prune covered in peanut butter and then coated in chocolate. I would strongly recommend them.
Yeah.
I don't like prunes. I'm going to say it now. I don't like prunes.
I really want you to
I don't know whether
I'll eat one.
I thought it was a date, actually. It might be a prune.
Well, I'm just taking your advice here.
I have to run off to the toilet and they can run prunes.
Good for your bowels, mate. It would be good for your bowels.
They are good.
They are good.
They are good.
Just don't try and speak.
Just, if you need the toilet during the show, just put your hand up, okay?
They're good. They're almost healthy, so but they're very nice.
I'll try a little bit.
I think they're dates.
Okay.
We've also got an upgrade on Scott. That's you, Lewis.
Big upgrade.
Welcome all the way from US of A.
And then obviously, massive welcome, George, to stick to rugby.
At last, a legend on the team. A true legend.
3 World Cup winners.
And you.
An NFL star.
And you. Obviously, the start of most episodes, we start with a little quiz. So it's called Australia, Wales or Fake. That's the title of our game.
Wales or Fake.
Yeah. And basically the concept is, everybody knows that obviously Australia and Wales have some of the strangest and silliest place names. You guys are going to have to decide whether it's obviously a place in Australia, whether it's a place in Wales or whether you just think it's absolute ridiculous and they've made it up.
Yep.
Okay, so George, you get to go first.
Yep.
First one is Monknash.
Sounds like,
See what I mean?
Saturday night.
I think that's fake.
Right, you think that's fake. That's from Wales.
Yeah.
Cowbridge.
Yeah.
Wales.
Monknash.
There you go.
Exactly.
Eggs and Bacon Bay.
It's definitely fake.
This is actually from Australia.
Eggs and Bacon Bay?
Yeah, in Tasmania.
Wow.
There you go.
Who did we send over to name that? That was
I don't know.
Eggs and
Honestly,
Bacon
the guys
Bay.
get better.
Eggs and
They
Bacon
get
Bay.
better.
in Taz.
In Tasmania.
Taz.
Been to
That's
Tasmania.
right.
I've never heard of eggs and bacon.
No? There we go.
Fascinating.
Full of Brits. It's full of Brits. And full English. That's probably why.
With the black sausage.
Amity Island.
Australia.
It's from the film Jaws.
It's going really well for our
Yeah,
guest.
it is. This could be a good one.
Got to get off the mark.
Useless Loop.
Well, that's got to be fake.
Australia. Western Australia. And Panty Wacko.
I'll go with fake. I've got to get a fake.
Hollywell. In Wales.
In Wales, there
Yeah.
you go.
Panty
Oh,
Wacko.
and five.
Strong start.
Then Shank, say that in Panty Wacko.
My accents are dreadful.
Is that any good?
Okay, you've basically got to beat 0 to win
Just
this.
got to get off the mark.
Okay, Splot.
I know, that's in Wales.
Yeah,
We've got a winner.
Prickly Bottom,
Fake.
Tasman Beach, Australia.
That's a weird name.
They've got some weird names.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking...
This one's a good
I'm
one.
thinking I'd like to
That's a problem.
double check on this.
You can speak to them. Apparently, there's a bit of
Prickly bottom.
bit of research
Egg
gone
and
into
bacon
this.
bay.
Humpy Bang,
Fake.
Australia.
Is there any fake ones on this?
There is one. There's
To
one.
Australia.
This one. Salt and Pepper Spring.
Australia.
Fake.
Come on.
And Pigtown, and that is it.
What is that, Wales?
Yeah.
I hate Pigtown.
Where's that?
Well done. 2.
Well done.
2.
They were
Take
tough.
that.
They were tough.
They were tough.
We're going to talk. We've obviously got the British and Irish Lions tour coming up, George. It's been everything that anyone's spoken about while we're here. How's it looked at in Australia?
I think it's big, really big now. I think off the back of the Wallaby tour last year and the first year under Joe Smith, I think people have got something to pin some hope on in terms of the performance of the players. I think that game, that victory at Twickenham,
Yeah.
it showed that they believe in how they're wanting to play. Easy to not win when you've got to hang on to the ball for a good couple of minutes and move the ball, march the ball 60 metres. We've all played in teams. It's not easy to do.
Because Australian rugby's sort of been through it, hasn't it? It's
Yeah.
been through the ringer.
It's been through the ringer.
financially, off the field, lots of different people at the head. You know, new chairman, new president. And they've obviously made lots of significant changes with, as you said, Joe. But above that, there's people like Daniel Herbert, some of the guys that you maybe relate to. What's the expectations on the Wallabies? Do you think?
Well, I think the expectations is they'll go in underdogs. The Lions will be, rightfully so, I think, going in as favourites.
Yeah.
And I think rightfully so, particularly going into the first test. I think you'll have 6 or 7 games before the first test match.
Yeah.
Yes, you're pulling in teams from Ireland, Wales, England and Scotland in a short period of time. But these players, a lot of them, I think was it over 18 of the Lions players played on the weekend in finals. So they're going to be match hardened. They're going to have that. They're going to have that edge to them, which I think is important for Andy Farrell and his coaching group. It's managing, obviously, their level of fatigue, but also getting them prepped up for the games. And I think that won't be an issue. And that first test match in Brisbane, we've spoken about, it's been spoken about a lot. There's 40,000 fans from this part of the world, plus the ones sitting in Australia in those funny little names from Tasmania,
What about
turning up.
What about the ones flying over from Egg and Bacon Bay? I mean, listen,
They're flying.
They might be battle hardened, but there's obviously jet lag to recover from and all the things out there. But obviously, you're wide awake today. Sure. What were your experiences of being picked when you got picked for the Lions?
Mine was during COVID, so I was at Gloucester, so we had a training session later in the day, but we're in the cafeteria, and there's a video online, but obviously the names were getting called. Chris Harris got called from my team.
Oh, I remember now.
And they obviously do it in alphabetical order.
Yes.
I was 19, so I wasn't even thinking about the alphabetical
You've
order.
got 3 names, haven't you?
Yeah, true. Yeah.
What are we going with?
But all the boys were like, obviously they knew that if I was going to get called, I was going to be next. And my name got called, and then me and Chris, because we had our training ground, we had Kingsholm, we had to drive from Hartpury to Kingsholm for training. And I drove in the car with Chris, and I was literally like, I just want to cry. Like, it was such an amazing feeling.
And you were the youngest player on the tour as well.
Yeah, so I had to
carry Bill.
Carried the bill?
Yeah.
Did you lose him?
Yeah, a few times. But
was he abducted?
Have you still got
yeah, I got him in my living room. Yeah.
You?
Oh,
Yeah, he's huge.
That's cool.
You keep your pajamas in there.
He's actually got my. I got a photo on my phone. He's got my American football pads over him at the minute. What an experience that was.
You covered like in beer, juice, food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, but. I lost him a fair few times.
Yeah, of course. Well, look, the boys are stitching it up. Now, George,
that happens on every tour team, doesn't it?
You know, obviously Lewis was an absolute superstar for that tour and the youngest player. There's so much excitement about it. There's some established Wallaby players that we all know, or fans at home will know. Give us a few names that you think will have an exciting summer this year for the Wallabies.
Well, I think the obvious one, we saw it on the inter-season tour last year, it's Joseph Suaalii. I think he's injured, coming back from having a broken jaw, but I think he's going to have a massive impact.
Yeah. It's great news that he's going to be fit for the series.
It's awesome news because we just saw on that tour, he's got that ability, which is hard. Like, I think if you're defending at 13, he's playing rugby league. Everyone's saying, oh, maybe he'll struggle with defence. No. He's got the line speed. He also knows how to hold that decision. If they go to those wider channels, to hold, sit, be patient and push. But when he's got the flip side of it, so defensively really sound, but I also think he's got that ability to crack a game open with his footwork and set the people around him inside and outside, because he's going to attract a lot of attention. He's a big athletic
Great
player.
in the air, isn't he?
And he's fantastic in the air. So he's going to have a part to play in the Wallaby attack in a big way. And more important, I think his attitude. He brings, which having played with the likes of Wendell Sailor, Lottie Takiri, Matty Rogers, I played with Peter Ryan and Andrew Walker before that at the Brumbies and Wallabies. They bring this competitive edge to training, which I think is really, really important, has a real positive impact on the group.
I can't believe it was his first game against England.
Yeah.
Like, that's incredible.
Crazy, isn't it?
And I can't wait to see, I hope it sets up this way. You've got Sione Tuipulotu, Joseph, Suaalii against each other, because they had a little bit of beef.
There's a little, wasn't there? In that Scottish game, there's a little bit.
I hope the TMO is not the winner as well. Otherwise, we're going to be in trouble, aren't we? Really?
What do you reckon the most important position to get right is? Because there's a lot of talk about who plays 10.
Yeah.
Do you think that's the most important one to get right?
I think the most important one will be, and it's not just one position, I think it's a combo. I think the tight five, I think it's going to be really important in this series. We'll talk about what happens. The players, as we know, outside of that can't really do anything. Even the back row, if your tight five aren't doing all that hard stuff.
It's a different game if they're under pressure.
Yeah.
So it's a completely different game for you in the back row as it is for the halfbacks. And
that yard you might be losing, or you're gaining, or that quality of ball that you might be getting, or it's a little bit clunky. Yeah. That impacts and gets flowed on. So I think that's going to be really, really important.
And what do you think because 12, 18 months ago, the Wallabies were looking in trouble, right?
Yes.
Joe Schmidt's come in and he does like to control things in a way. But what has he done, or what have the coaches done that suddenly turned Australia? They're not world beaters yet, but their performances over the last sort of 6 to 12 months have been much, much better. And is there belief? Is there structure? Is there, I don't know.
I think that there's definitely structure. Anyone who's been coached by Joe Schmidt, and I've spoken to people like Drico and others, he likes to break it down.
He's organised.
He'll add layers when required.
Yep.
But I think the team probably jumped ahead a little bit in terms of their attack. I think they picked it up quite quickly. So I remember previously, like he was one to ball retention, don't look for the offload as much, but if you earn the offload, you can play, and it's hard to defend. And I think that was what I loved seeing with the Wallaby team under him last year. But also, I just think that belief of we can hang on to the ball. But to hang on to the ball for long periods of time, you need to be accurate at the breakdown. Because if you're sloppy there, you turn the ball over, you build fatigue, and teams can get you on the counter punch. So the area which probably concerns me from last year is just they need to improve their defence. They're licking too many points.
Yeah, if you're a back three player, Lewis, what do you want from your 10?
The ball?
Yeah, the ball.
Space.
You don't want to be chasing kicks, do you?
No.
All day. You don't want to be stopping quick throw-ins. You want to be going up in the air. You want a bit of quality ball, don't you?
Yeah, it's about being on the front foot and being able to play in behind defences. And yeah, for us back three players, we just want to have ball in space.
Yeah. Give me a chance, one-on-one, or give us a,
I reckon you want a good 12 because everything comes from 12 now. You've gone on the days, I think, where it's just a 10 who throws the big pass. You've got to set them up, haven't you?
Always used to go through 12.
And I think Jamie Roberts was playing, it never did. But if you've got Bundyaki and you've got Sione Tuplotta,
I think that's the difference though, isn't it? It's like having a 10 that can carry and pass. I think we went through a phase where it was a very big distributing second receiver, wasn't it? And now actually the teams that are getting it right are the ones that are that double threat where you're like, oh, I'm going to have to hold a beat, because actually that gives you, by the time you get to the edge, that's creating 5-6 metres, isn't it? Rather than the ones where just a bit light and you're like, actually, we'll leave that for your 10.
I think it's very interesting.
You had that at Gloucester, didn't you?
Yeah, we had Mark Atkinson.
Yeah.
His ball playing was unbelievable, but also he could take it to the line. Defensive didn't know if he was going to pull out the back or he was going to, because a lot of the time he actually just dummied and went straight through.
Yeah.
So just having that player, like, especially Bundyaki now.
Yeah.
And two of the losses.
Just on that, actually, George, from your perspective, now that you're one of us now, you're obviously living here in London. You see the Northern Hemisphere game. You've seen all the players that have been picked. Who would who are the danger men from the Lions' perspective as an Australian? Who would you rather not see in the Test lineup come first, second, third Test?
The obvious one that concerns me, and I saw him play on the weekend, is Finn Russell, because he can win matches. With his boot, great kick just on half time, which was 48-50 out. Yeah. He knocked that over. That's important. You need like a score in big games.
I think as a 10, that was probably the fact that he obviously missed that kick at Twickenham for Scotland, which was, it was a tough kick, but they lost it. For a forward pack, you want a 10 that's going to win you the Test match.
Yeah.
Right. I don't want someone who's a good highlights reel. I want someone who's going to win me the Test match.
Yeah.
And I think Finn Russell has always had an amazing highlights reel. But what he has now is someone who can still be amazing and do the things that no other players or few players can do, but he can actually win you the Test match.
And not try and push it. He didn't try and push it on the weekend. And watch the third Lions Test when you guys were in South Africa during the pandemic. And again, very calm, very patient. Everyone says, yes, the highlights reel goes for the big plays. But when he pulls back and when you're around quality players, as we know, when you're playing with good teams, you just kind of, it sounds cliche, but you just need to do your job. And if they give you that front football, that opportunity to play in front of a team which is struggling, he'll pick them to pieces. Yeah. You saw him step inside Montoya when they try to put a bit of pressure on him, then he plays through. Yeah. He has that awareness, but he just picks his moment. So he concerns me if they get quality ball, because you can fall from a lot. And then also, Gibson Park concerns me too, because he plays both sides of the ruck. So he'll have great linkage with his 10 or his first receiver on his open side, but he likes to...
He's amazing.
He sniffs
I think he's probably,
sides.
They're always important players, the Nines, but he's probably even more important, I think, significantly than... I think, he's everything, really.
Did you see Finn Russell throwing the pass back inside in the final? He took an intercept. He could have easily scored.
He was in, wasn't he? Let's be honest.
Would you have done that?
Oh, I don't know.
He could have easily just...
It just, like, for me, just elevates the kind of bloke he is, though, isn't it? When he sees interview and the reasons why behind it, you think...
He knows he's big time.
Yeah, I'm too good. I don't need to score in a final, right?
Yeah. But you know what? This is the first time, and this is no disrespect to him. Of course, he's won matches of rugby, but he hasn't actually won very much in his career. We were chatting about this on a night out together after Bath won, and I said, well, with all due respect to Scotland, it might be a while before we win something because it's just so competitive. But he's helped them win 3 trophies this season, and suddenly someone like him, it's huge because you can be a good player but not win anything.
It's good muscle memory, isn't it?
Yeah, it's good.
It's really good muscle memory.
Yeah. What about the back three, Lewis? Who excites you there?
I think Tommy Freeman does.
Yeah.
I think he's had a hell of a season at Northampton and for England as well. He's the way he can get up in the air. I think aerially he's great. Offensively he's great. He's a big, strong kid.
Yeah. You can play in the centre as well.
Can play 13, can play wing, probably can play fullback. Very versatile player.
I mean, in terms of any omissions, do you think from the Lions squad that you were surprised by?
There's always going to be so many quality players you miss out. I like the idea of having Jack Willis in there, playing in Toulouse. He's been the player of Europe for a year, last year, and I'd like, and he's just like that big, hard carrying.
You've been championing him.
Kind of on the ball. It was sort of
just because he's one of the best players in the world at the moment.
Yeah.
I was just quite surprised. But I mean, the fact he's obviously not able to join. I mean, I think Toulouse will make the final. They've got a semi-final coming up this weekend or whatever. So I do think they'll be in the final. So he may not be available until the third or fourth game, which kind of must have gone against him. But Blair Kinghorn got picked, and I don't
Darcy
know.
Graham maybe. Might have
Darcy
been one.
Graham.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, the thing
lot
is,
of wins.
when there's a 50-50 call, and this is Andy Farrell's going to go with someone he knows rather
100%.
than he doesn't know. So it might have been quite 50-50. Mac Hansen can probably consider himself slightly fortunate because he hasn't played a huge amount
Well,
of
I think he'd be
of
bullying
footy.
around.
But also, it's how you want to play as well.
Like you need like a bit of comedy, or you need people that are social. You need people to galvanise the squad. If you had a load of
Is that your job?
yeah, exactly, social stuff.
it's true.
Is that why you and I
It's so
got
true.
picked?
It's so true.
If you had a load of people that all they wanted to do was eat, train, play rugby, it would be a boring atmosphere. So you need like the loud people, you need the fun people to bring you all out. I think you can see like online, and you can see with the interviews. Mac Hansen is that type of guy.
exactly.
Yeah.
If there's tables around and you're having food,
Are you saying
you wanna
loose,
be on his-
basically, is what
you
you're saying?
wanna- yes, you want to be on his table. Like,
Got some quality
don't you?
dress sense,
I
by
want
the
to.
way.
I want to sit by him and make you laugh. Like, who would be that for you?
He's good fun, isn't he?
Yeah.
Who would be someone that you'd see on the table and think, oh, do you know what? I want to sit by him. I'm feeling down. I want to be made to laugh.
On the last tour, it was definitely Finn Russell.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's absolutely hilarious. And he's quite loose as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's loose off the field, and I mean, he's pretty loose on the field.
In a good way, He's just funny.
Exactly.
He's just funny. He's always giggling and
Always bringing everyone together and having a couple beers.
I love that. I love that about rugby is that it's super professional now, but still a couple slip through that net, don't they?
Well, listen, I said to
Everyone does.
Haven't been weeded out
I
just
did
yet.
say to him, I said, "Look, you're a bit of an outlier, really, mate, because with all due respect, we all used to be a bit like you. We'd all, do it in the right environment. If you win, you go out and have a few beers. Now, you just seem to do what we did, but you just need to take a few with you. Otherwise people are going to think you're a bit strange. If you're like that on your own.
And go to a safe place.
Take a few people with you.
Come on, George, you would be the ones that you would...
It's having this chat, we had like a Myers, but everyone does the personality, the 16 different personalities. I remember off the chart for people who are extrovert, and like when it came to wanting to do something of celebration or getting off and blowing some steam, we had that off the chart in terms of what they registered. Like we're talking the Sturlos, the Lottie Takiros, the Wendell Sailors, Matty Rogers. Yeah. I mean, you had other people in our forward pack, like great characters.
Kef,
and it was
Kefu.
Kef was always the sort of big chief at the end of the table, just making sure everyone was okay.
Yeah.
But just staying Mr. Calm. But that was it. If you're going to go
Definitely
out,
packing the
take
cigars for him and George to puff after the game.
But you need that. But then there's that whole A plus B equals C. You got to work hard, train hard. Yes, then you can have some time off, and then you loop it. It's become more professional. I still think there's something in that.
Of course.
And you put so much work and effort into going on this tour, preparing for the game, preparing for the test. You want to have some fun away from that, then recharge, reset, go again. But no, I've just named probably about half a dozen.
That's all.
And they've been very happy that I have named them.
Stick to Rugby, brought to you by Defender.
There's also the Women's World Cup in August as well. Is it the Wallaroos? Is it?
Yes.
The Wallaroos.
Yes.
I mean, they've made significant improvements over the last few years, I would imagine, and they're in a tough pool, I think, with England.
Yeah, they're in England's pool, aren't
I
they?
knew what I was talking about then.
You did well there.
USA, are they?
Yes.
Yeah, perfect.
I think Australia have got a chance of coming out. I don't know how much you guys have crossover and how much you see of them.
Yeah, we see quite a bit of them, particularly. I think when they've played against New Zealand, and you guys, you're the standard, and it's been a tough road for them. But it gives you a benchmark of where you are and how you got to get better. I think that's definitely been the case. I think they've gone down the path of looking at some of the sevens players to try and bolster the squad and earn it. They just don't get it because they've played in the sevens. Your likes of Charlotte Kazak, they haven't played a lot of 15s.
Tia Hines
Tia Hines and all their ability to see the field and create space off quality ball. Sevens players are pretty amazing at it. Yeah. So that adds nice variety and potential, uptick for your attack. But like everything, like it's up front, it's at the breakdown and the first up tackling. And if we're not doing that, which I think has improved quite a lot, because And I reckon it's also that back end of games where when I've watched the England women's team and definitely the New Zealand women's team, like they just clean up at the back end because it's just relentless and it's just doing the small stuff over and over. And if you can't compete, it starts becoming
that's
really hard.
almost a fitness thing, isn't it? Because they're professional, probably more professional.
It's quality players as well, isn't it? Like I think you can get a good 15, you get a good 19, 20 now, but you're probably squad size and through later on. I mean, for me, Australia have got a really good chance against America. I think the likes of Charlotte Caslick being in there, just that having that X factor and pace when games are starting to kind of lose that, you need somebody who can go 50, 60 metres and has done it. I think they could get a quarter. Potentially, it's only winning 2 games there.
We both had X Factor. Like, did you? What are you saying?
What are you doing that for?
Just because he's sitting next to you.
Did that put more pressure on you? Like with that tag? Did me?
Blood pressure.
Did you feel that pressure? Because did you feel that expectation?
Especially after you scored that worldie, which
Which one? It's loads.
No, after you scored that worldie, every time great players get the ball, there is an excitement. When Jason Robinson used to get the ball for England, for instance, there was an expectation. Yeah. And most often he didn't let anyone down. He sort of beat 4 or 5 defenders. It's what brings people to watch the game, really. Did you feel that, or you just want to,
I think more because, as I said, it was in COVID, so there were no fans watching. So it was literally just me playing rugby. Like there was no external factors.
But even when there are fans and you were playing rugby, did you always?
I felt like I had a bit of form going into when the fans were coming back. So I felt like I would always back myself to try and do something exciting, because when there was no fans, I wasn't having to think about anything external. Just playing rugby, enjoying it. When the fans came in, I was trying and literally picture without them.
Quite annoying actually without the fans, because you can hear all your teammates. I don't want to just give me the ball. I don't want to speak to you.
Just ball in space. That's all I wanted. Yeah. And I was trying to do something special every time I got the ball. That was kind of my thing in my head. As soon as I get the ball, try and make something happen for the team.
Well, that's pretty much what this man used to do, playing for the... you mentioned Sevens. I think the first time I came up against a very young George Gregan was... It
was in Sevens, yeah.
Sevens, yeah.
Yeah, well, that was a great place for me, because I'm obviously... Is
that when you won the World Cup, Noel?
I don't like to talk about it.
Matty Burke beat them all, beat a great team. Yeah. With an incredible time. Yeah. Incredible time. But that was a great way for me. And you talk about playing with fans or playing... I've never had the COVID experience, which was maybe... The equivalent of that was maybe playing club football for me back in the day. Yeah.
You could always hear your mum and dad.
Go George. I can hear my mum.
But go on.
No, I was going down that path of Sevens was... playing at Hong Kong. You're playing in front of 40,000 people. And
have you done Hong Kong yet?
No, I haven't done it.
Like it was
slightly over-refreshed fans as well, if I'm honest with you.
They were very hydrated, and it wasn't on electrolytes.
Dressed as a pink flamingo,
So that was incredible. Because you're playing against some of the best players, like Wasali Sarevi, World Cup winning English team. We're playing against New Zealand, Dallas Seymour, like Eric Rush, a young Jonah Lomu. I never played Cullen, thank goodness. Bad enough playing him in 15s. So that was a wonderful opportunity for you to exhibit your skills and see where you're at and play in front of a huge crowd. And you're 20, 21 years of age. It was a perfect place for
What about before then? What first got you into rugby?
Go back to, I think, your first experience with rugby, I was 10 years of age. I went to a rugby school. The winter sports were hockey, soccer, Aussie rules and rugby. Not rugby league. I played rugby league up until then, but rugby union was all you played at this school at St Edmunds. Right. And so my under-10s coach, I remember him like yesterday, was the first grade, and they'd won that competition, the local grade competition, Jack Maguire, and he was our coach. And we worked on skills. We always finished with a game, and I played 10, and he was teaching me the sort of intricacies of playing 10, and it was brilliant. But what I loved about him, it was like, okay, always work on our skills. And he says, telling me at 10 years of age, if you're going to play fly, I've got to be able to kick off both feet. So you're practicing your skills, and it was always the passing stuff, and he'd always finish with the game and just see how good our skills were and how good our passing was. and put us on the clock.
And were you?
And it was fun.
That's amazing. Yeah,
was
and it should
fun.
be about that. Were you huddled around the TV set watching the Wallabies even back then? And who would have been the superstars of Australian rugby then when you were watching as a 8, 9, 10-year-old?
So what really got me was the 1984 Grand Slam. Like that was the Ella brothers. It was like a young Nick Farr-Jones, a young Michael Liner, Steve Timon. This group, which weren't expected to do well, they won the Grand Slam.
Not a bad little list you've just reeled off there.
No, but you're watching those, and they could play. Like Michael Liner was playing 12. He was playing outside Mark Ella, and Mark Ella just used to play really flat, beautiful hands. And he worked on the theory, and this is like a coaching thing. If you touch the ball twice, that's good because you touch, support, follow your pass. If you touch it 3 times, he says, I'll probably score. That was his mentality. So he was always where the ball was. He was positioning himself really well. He was the master puppeteer, Mark Ella, and he was great to watch. And if you were like Nick Farr-Jones, I remember hearing the story. Nick was obviously nervous passing to the great Mark Ella. And Mark says, don't worry about it, just put it out in front of me, I'll catch it, I'll take care of the rest. Not like it needs to be here, it needs to be here, it needs to be, like some tens can be quite demanding.
Wants to be right there, otherwise it won't catch it.
I would have volleyed it back.
Quite needy, aren't they, really? They're quite needy.
Quite needy chaps. Mark just says, try it and I'll catch it and I'll take care of the rest.
Who, just on that then, go on, you've got to name names there, you can't. I mean, you play with some greats, you know, I mean. I think who bosses who around?
The 10 should boss you when they need the ball, but at the same time, if you're ball playing and like a 9 that runs, they need to start running off you. So
I hated a 9 that runs. Like, oh my God! Like, just stand there and pass it to me. Stop running. Yeah.
I'm a 2 defender. I don't.
No! Here I am on the short line.
Yeah, and so you want people coming at you. So that was probably it. But I think answering Steve Larkham was very much like Mark Ella. You just had to put out in front. Yeah. What I found hard when I wasn't playing with Steve Larkham was you could put the ball so far in front of him, he'd make up the ground because he had sneaky pace. Yeah. Like I was playing with flats, and flats wasn't demand, but flats, no one had this. I'll be throwing bounce passes. I'm saying,
just
sorry,
to confirm,
flats.
not David Flatman now.
Definitely not David Flatman.
Elton Flatley, the little bulldog with his headgear. Like, he was a great guy, great character, and part of the loose crowd too. And part of the loose crowd.
I always remember. Am I right in thinking Stephen Larkham only had 1 drop kick internationally?
He had it was about 10 years between drinks. He did that one in the semi-final against.
That's the one I remember, like just on the run.
Yeah, and he did one in 2007.
And it was ugly as well. It wasn't great, but it got over.
It was massive, wasn't it?
It was. Didn't. But he
nearly halfway
it,
line
but it didn't look good.
No.
But it sounded good.
Yeah.
And I've heard the sound of a few field goals. Rob Andrew.
Yeah.
Who's that bloke? What's his name? Johnny.
Oh yeah.
I've heard them all. I know the sound of a good strike.
Have you ever attempted a drop kick?
No.
Well, we've got one of the most famous men right now that have made a transition from Union to NFL. There was talk about you going to Rugby League in the 90s.
Yes.
Adelaide, is that right?
It was Adelaide Rams. That was
Like
probably
a bidding war going on for you, was there?
There was a little bit with Matt. Was it Michael O'Connor? Yeah, it was Michael O'Connor.
Yeah.
Great. He was a dual international, and he was trying to recruit for the Adelaide Rams. This is the end of the '95, where rugby was about to go professional as well. There was a threat of a rebel league called WRC, and so there was a big change in rugby occurring.
Yeah.
And there's a big change in rugby league through the Super League and NRL war. So I was approached, and I'd been approached actually a year or so before that with the Raiders by Tim Sheens, and that was with Ricky Stewart, Laurie. They were wonderful. They were a championship-winning team, but it's to play understudy to Ricky Stewart.
Yeah.
And I just got an AIS scholarship when he approaced me.
Was rugby union amateur then?
Yes. Rugby. I was at university. Okay. It was the ACT Kookaburras was our senior representative team. Well, this is probably 2-3 years before the Brumbies was established in Super Rugby, and I declined because I think it was flattering that they looked at me.
Yeah.
But I sort of unfinished business, and we'd been knocked out of the World Cup in '95, and there was an opportunity to start something. It was like the Brumbies was a startup, so that was sort of exciting. Most of the time when you lived in Canberra, you had to leave Canberra to play either for Queensland or New South Wales to play Super 10. So this was an opportunity to keep we had some homegrown talent like young Joe Roff, Steve Larkham, Rod Kafer. Like we had some wonderful players who just came from Canberra. Yeah. And so I was thinking, well, I wouldn't mind being part of this and see what we can do. And I don't regret that decision.
Shanks, did you ever approach to play Rugby League.
No, funny enough.
Anything else? Other sports? Did they win?
no.
Lewis, did you Rugby League? No. I did get asked once by the great Brian Smith, Australian coach, but I was the same as you.
I wouldn't want to do it.
Just about to start my England career, and I hadn't even been picked for England, and I was trying to get in the team, and I was working at the time, and this guy said, "There's an Australian guy on the phone wants to talk to you," and I was very flattered. He said, we've been following your progress, and we
Does accent?
Would have been mate.
Mate.
Noel's wicked at accents.
He was quite nasal. And he said, we'd like to sign you for the Bradford Bulls. I said, sorry, there's a crackle on the line. Did you say Bradford? He said yes. I said, that's very kind of you. I'm very flattered, but I don't think I can see myself moving from London to Bradford just at this moment in time.
Currently on Richmond upon Thames.
Shady walk, Tim Boyd, shady walk. But so you seriously considered it, and obviously that was never again in you. I mean, you never look back, obviously.
Yeah, you never look back. No, that was that window. It was an interesting time in rugby. It was an interesting time in both those codes because it was the advent of proper professionalism. Like Rugby League had been professional, but not to this level.
Yeah, and how soon after that did you then make it into make your first appearance for the Wallabies?
Well, I'd made my first appearance. Right. So '94, broke into the Wallaby team and played 4 Test matches that year. '95 World Cup. Yeah. Instead, I heard that Rob Andrew field goal in the quarter-final, that cannon which got knocked us out in Cape Town.
Remember that.
And then this happened post. The offer came after that. Yeah. But what it did, it lit the fire. I want to get back into that Wallaby team. You want to be the starting 9, and there's a lot of competition for a number of years. Myself, Sam Payne, and others are going for that position. But it was an interesting time for sport, and one which I'm very happy I made that decision.
I mean, you had talk about massive moments in games. You mentioned drop goals. I mean, talk us about through your defence in the early days, because I remember seeing a try-saving tackle that you made. Obviously, you're always known for your big defence.
It's just one tackle.
No, there's two. There's two. I've seen one on another rugby DVD of you. I can't remember who it is. It might have been a South African or a Kiwi. A prop runs at you.
Yes.
Picked him up, dumped him
that
back.
Was Richard Lowe.
There we are.
I'll be red carded now because I think
I tipped above 90.
I actually tipped him.
Best you get Richard Lowe off. Best you get him off the pitch before he gets you off the pitch.
So it's kind of tip and run.
The one against Jeff Wilson is probably still played now for turning that game and winning you that game.
It is. It's still referenced, and I still cop a lot of shit from my teammates around just doing one tackle. That's all I ever did. And I said, well, fair enough. I said, but 5 blokes didn't do their job. That's it.
Right.
I shouldn't have been doing that cover tackle in the corner. Damien Smith, David Wilson, Campo, obviously, David Knox, Jason Little. There's 5.
Yep.
He went through 5.
That tackle, by the way, was not the only reason, but one of the significant. You actually won the Bledisloe Cup as a young kid playing for the Wallabies, beating the All Blacks, which took some doing.
Yes.
How did that feel for you?
It was amazing.
And being part of that team at that time.
Well, that team, that was prior to the '95 World Cup. '94, they'd won the '91 World Cup here in England. But I'd never beat England in the World Cup. That group did. They played South Africa in South Africa for the first time once they were brought back out of apartheid, and they beat them in Cape Town. And then they won the series against South Africa and Australia, having lost the first test and coming from behind. So they were winners. So when you went in there, and it was very clear on what you just had to do. So you felt really comfortable. I remember the week leading into that Bledisloe, because the midweek game, which is unusual, Wednesday night, sort of what they do for State of Origin, and rated well, was full house at Sydney. It was a great atmosphere. And there's never not a handy All Black team like Zinzan Brooks, Sean Fitzpatrick, Bashir, like they had some handy players, a young Jeff Wilson, etc. The intensity, and you'd know this when everything stepped up, and all the leaders and all the senior players and the winners of that said everything steps up another 15-20% in terms of intensity and urgency. That was probably the buzzword, urgency, when you play these guys, because then it's on instinct. You can't think too much. You've just got to play, and then mistakes will be made, but be urgent, be present, support each other, and never a truer word. We started like a house on fire. I think it was 17-0. Surprise, surprise, the All Blacks come back. We're almost down. We're out on our feet. I think we ended up winning 2017, but it was an incredible test match, and it was a one-off, so that's good. It wasn't a 3 tests, so it was a one-off. They got us, I think, the year before in Dunedin with a one-off, so it was a one-off.
4 more years, Jack. 4 more years.
But then we had a run. we obviously, that All Black team went on a run from 95 through till 97. Then we got them again in 98 and had 5 good years. We had 5 good years.
5?
Bounce. So that group, we had a good run with Keffy and those lads. But yeah, that was just that level of, okay, when you're playing big games, that small bit of detail and bring up the urgency and intensity.
Do you have a tackle you remember? Because obviously you scored loads of tries like me. Is there one tackle that sticks in your head?
No, not really.
That's a good thing.
Well,
Yeah.
The thing is, as a winger, right? If you miss a tackle, it costs your side the game sometimes.
Yeah.
Or if you score a try, you win your side the game.
Yeah.
You know, and that's whereas I can miss tackles and believe me, I miss plenty. But you know, ultimately they don't often.
So who would be someone that you don't want to tackle then? Who's come up against who was either difficult for different reasons?
Josh Tuasova was probably the one.
Yeah.
He was my opposite man against Fiji. Or Randrandra.
Everyone's.
Yeah, yeah, we had him in the first game of the World Cup. I had Randrandra opposite me.
Honestly, courage is overestimated in those situations. You just say to your inside centre, or your outside centre, yours.
Yeah.
You just blitz up hard, right?
Yeah, you want him to step inside, don't you?
Yeah, but we had Fiji at home a few years back, and it was late on in the game, and honestly, there must be 50 metres of pitch left, just me and Tuasova. Someone passed him the ball, he catches it, and he pulls his calf. I couldn't have been more relieved in my life. It was literally just me and him, and I was like, oh no. Oh, yeah. And he pulled his calf.
Went for it.
Unfortunate for him, but...
Well, listen, by the way, he wasn't going to try and run round you anyway.
Oh, he's going through, I know. Yeah, that was a moment I was like...
Yeah, I have been sat down once before by Shabal or someone like that.
Yeah,
that's
a horrible feeling.
Yeah, it's just, I mean,
I don't know what's worse, being sat
by a
down.
winger, actually. I got turned inside. I got beaten.
Oh, that.
I got beaten 3 times by James Simpson-Daniel.
Yeah, I reckon being sat down is worse than being gassed, because like against pace, you can't really do much.
On an edge, as a 10, when you reload, France used to play with both their 8 and their 6 on the edge for the women.
Yeah.
So you used to reload, and if you got their like 3 phases, oh God, and they used to play to them. And I swear, one game they went every side I reloaded to, they went that way. So you'd be getting there, and then they'd be getting 8 or 6 every time.
Now listen, we've got to talk about...
Can I just add to that one with the run over or steps? This was bringing back bad memories. Again, Christian Cullen,
PTSD.
Dunedin. I remember like yesterday, Carisbrook turnover, Cully just like in full mode. He was just covering the grass, and I'm sort of in my normal backtracking. Oh my goodness, it's Cully. And then he's just, because he never slowed down when he changed. He basically ankle broke me. I'm sweating, then by the time I got to make a tackle, I fall over. It's like I'm drunk. I'm going, oh, Cully, why did you do that in front of so many
that
people?
they've lost that footage.
Go to the corner, physical pace.
Let's talk about some of your best international highlight memories, and there are many. We've spoken about the Bledisloe Cup. You won the World Cup in 1999. What are your memories of that group, of that campaign, and that group, and or the final? I mean, it was a great Australian side, and you got it over the line.
Yeah, that 1999 Rugby World Cup team was a really special group. We'd obviously gone through some tough times previous to that, from 96 through till probably 98. 98 was that year, so we beat the All Blacks. We won 3-0. We beat them in Christchurch. We beat them in Sydney. And we beat them also in Melbourne. And that was the beginning of that group, starting to get belief. We lost to South Africa in the deciding what was then the Tri-Nations, and they were a team which I think levelled the record of winning 16 straight. Then Wales got them before the 99 World Cup in the warm-up match. But we sort of knew we were close to being one of the best teams. So going to a World Cup was great. We based ourselves in Ireland, which was a good way to start. Yeah. We got over our recovery. This was a good way to get over jet lag. We played 9 holes, and the sponsors were Guinness, and we had a couple of pints of Guinness turned into a few more than a couple of pints.
I just ask you on the Guinness, do you split the line or split the G? Because I'm stuck.
Old school. It's under the harp.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm the same. But some want to do the G.
Yes, it's the new way.
Yeah,
it's evolves. Another opponent.
but why it goes back to the G. It was quite funny because everyone was that was a great way to get together. We were staying at Port Marnock, and then it was time to lock in, and we just slowly built momentum through the pool games. We had a big test match against Ireland in Dublin in the pool game. We won that well, and then it gets into that next phase, which is just knockout footy. The quarterfinals, it changes. So you're just getting yourself, you're jockeying, and we built our way really nicely, and took obviously something Steve never did for another 10 years, that field goal he spoke about.
Yep.
Thanks to Owen Finnegan, showing poor discipline, giving an extra penalty away, which De Beer kicks on an angle. Anyway, we've let him go on that. And the final was us against France, and France were 20 points down to New Zealand at Twickenham. That's where the semi-finals were being played. And they came back and won the second half, and we played them in the final. We weren't expecting to. But the mentality, which I think we've been part of the championship and quality teams, it was like, no, that's who we're playing next week. They're in the way of our goal.
Yeah. What
do we need to do to prepare the best? And that's what I loved about that group. And there's a real togetherness and understanding. We're going to do whatever it took to win that match. And that team, over the course of that campaign, we just let one try in. We defended really well. We defended like sort of Aussie dingoes, so to speak. We were on the ball.
When you say we, when you were,
I was kind of in behind, organising, making sure we didn't,
100%. The general of the defence, yeah.
That was it.
Obviously, beating France in France must have been pretty special. What was it like when you got back to Australia as world champs?
It was a bit like. We'd seen it with the Aussie cricketers when they'd won that year, and our Aussie netballers. So it was a bit of those three teams were world champions, and we were going around the city with ticker tape parades. It was ridiculous.
Spring break.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
We won, so we.
And it was amazing. So we did Sydney, we did Melbourne, my old town Canberra. I think we did a little bit in Brisbane. So everyone within the squad was sort of made sure that we were back in time for the ticker tape parades. And there's obviously a few court sessions, a few signing sessions as well. Lots of laughter, catching up with our Prime Minister at the time, John Howard. We had a great session at the Lodge. And what goes on tour stays on tour, but we had a good court session, and he was a fantastic participant. That's what I say, great. He led from the front, Johnny Howard, and as did his wife. And so we had a great time as a team. So all those sort of memories, which I think when you think about it, what happened on the field? That happened on the field a while ago. These are memories that group went through, and they stayed with you for life.
And listen, the following World Cup, you nearly did it. You were one Johnny Wilkinson drop roll away from doing it back to back. I just want to take you back to that All Blacks game, because it's a bit of controversy, really. I mean, listen, I always had two rules. When you say anything on the field, and you and I have been spoken to a lot,
yes,
right? But also, one, don't make it too personal, and two, it's got to be funny, right? Yes. Mm. But just give it. Well, I mean, the All Blacks, you did everyone a favour because you beat the All Blacks, and it's, for Australians, that's maybe more natural than it is for everyone else. But what are your memories of that game? And talk us through what happened towards the end of the game.
Yes, it's the infamous cameraman who I ended up working with for a good 10 years with Fox Sports afterwards.
I've not heard
Zoomed in. Yeah, well, we played them in the semi-final. It was hot. It was nearly 30 degrees at kick-off at 8 o'clock at night. So it was what we wanted. And we started well. Like, you always want to start well.
It looks hot just thinking about that.
Yeah, the sun, we don't agree.
There was no sun then. It was just the lights.
Just the heat. I can burn in the rain, mate.
So we get off to a great start. Sterling Mortlock intercepts a play and intercepts, like you saw one on the weekend with Finn Russell. They can go either way. If you don't pick it, there's probably two or three blokes on the outside. So he got Carlos's long pass and then goes the length of the field, big moment. We controlled the game. We were defending, like I use that term of we defended really well in that match. And it's hard to defend against New Zealand for extended periods of time because they can pick you off any time. And it gets to that final part. I think Justin Marshall was on the field, my great mate and our nemesis. He was off because he had some bad ribs. He didn't fall on the ball badly. He just got George Smith. Getting him really good.
And then George Gregan gave him a little extra.
He was just down a little bit, and take a breath, Marshall, you'll be okay. Don't stay on. But he couldn't come back on after the half time because he cooled down. It was really, really sore. So Byron Kelleher came on. He's the reserve half back, or the guy for the All Blacks, played for the Chiefs, competitive player. Used to describe himself as a can of Coke about to fizz. He was energetic, say that. But he'd get in your face, and he would not die wondering, but he could make a few errors. That calmness probably wasn't quite there. So he made a few errors which didn't help their cause. And then it gets towards the end of the game and he's made a few errors, and obviously someone like Steve Larkham's keeping a count on them. And then it gets to that moment where they can't score 10 points in these 2 minutes because they're 80 minutes away, and Elton Flatley, not Flats, not Dave Flatt, Elton Flatley actually missed this kick, which is very unlike Flats, as he showed the following week. And that would have taken us out to about 13 points, whatever it was, but it was 2010, I think, at the time. And I'm getting up, and we've been copping a lot. We just lost the Bledisloe, and we've been copping a lot from all the Kiwis in the lead up. We weren't meant to play.
And Byron Kelly had probably been talking to you forever.
Yeah, he'd been chappy, Greg, like all that kind of stuff. The usual banter which happens on the field, and I've just reminded him of the cycle of a World Cup. Yeah. And it was to Byron Keller, not to the New Zealand, it was just to Byron, who we nicknamed Pricey. So after the great Ray Price, who always got injured and then miraculously turned up the next week. So that's why we called him Pricey. Yeah. So everyone says, 4 more years boys. It wasn't boys, it was Pricey, which was Byron. And Byron, God love him, he wrote a lovely little note to me on my 50th a few years ago and said, 4 more years, George, and then sort of rolled away. He was on a beach and washed away the 4 more years that he'd rode on the beach, and that's it, washed away. And since that moment, far out, they had a pretty good cycle. And I think
they won it every 4 years.
The Kiwis remind me of that every single time. It doesn't matter where I'm at. But that was a moment, a little halfback moment. This was captured by that damn cameraman.
Listen, I think 139 caps. You played rugby from 94 for the Wallabies to 2007. But is there anything that we missed that stands out to you as being, you look back on with just immense pride?
Yeah, I just think you're just fortunate you go from playing in Hong Kong Sevens, Glenn Eller backing you, and then I thanked him for it. He said, no, just go out there and play. So that mentality, being around great players, getting to a World Cup, you get to 1, playing in 4 was incredible, and I was lucky enough to get to 2 finals with a group of players, which is incredible.
You'd take that though, wouldn't you? You'd take that, 2 finals, win 1, lost 1.
Of course you would. You take a test. You know how hard it is to represent your country, and to do it for a long period of time with so many wonderful people and great support from family and friends, etc. But I think one match which really always stands out to me as the best test, and even we lost it. It was 2000. It was before the Olympic Games. It was in front of about 109,000. At Stadium Australia at the time. Jonah Lomu scores last play of the game, but they were 24-0 up after 8 points, and it's then by half time we've scored 24 more points. It's 24 all, and it's just this arm wrestle. Yeah. But it was the game that was played that night. It was incredible. The ball was in play. It was such an incredible test match. Yes, we didn't get the chocolates that night, but what a game. I think we all both walked off. I remember speaking to Wayne Smith, who was the All Black coach at the time, and he says, how good was that? Yeah. And I said, yeah, how good was that? I said, we're so lucky to have been on the field playing. And he says, well, I was so lucky to be coaching it. He says, it was an amazing game.
And after your test career, you finished playing rugby in Japan. Was it how? I mean, it must have been really nice to play with people your own size, finally.
A bit of a stereotype. There's some big lads there. They're powerful. They're good in the gym. The Japanese boys, good low centre of gravity. Technically very sound on their power. They were off the chart, and sneaky skills. Like, it's fast. So I enjoyed that aspect of it. Sometimes they were too fast, because you never see a slow Japanese halfback. They are at the ball, boom, zipping it really quick. So I enjoyed that. But what I enjoyed was the cultural piece. I wasn't expecting to finish my career having a season in France at Toulon, and then finishing with 3 years in Japan at Suntory. The infamous working with Eddie, which was I loved. And then after I left, Fourie Duprier and George Smith came through, and there's a really good positive run of change with Suntory. But what I loved about the experience in Japan was just the people. Yeah. And just they're very coachable, they want to learn, and so respectful. I was George's son, because if you're the oldest, you're always son. And they'd be sort of almost bound, George's son. I said, you can't call me George's son on the field. Like my 10, I can't be having my 10 calling me George's son. It was Shin. He goes, George's son. I said, Shin, just George, just give him the ball. Stop being respectful. Boss me. I need you to boss me. Do you want the ball? He goes, no, They kept bowing down towards you. But he was amazing. Yeah. And they were just such beautiful people. And one thing you learn, like being the elder with the training, if you're still training, if I was doing my extras, didn't do too many. I was very deliberate with my extras. Yeah. Small amount, and 5-10 kicks, that's it. And then we get off to the recovery bins and everything. If you stayed on, because you were the oldest, none of the other players would leave until you left. And then if you're the Kantoku, which is the head coach, which was Eddie, if he was on the field, and we've said we're going to do a short, sharp session, get off, we're going to recover harder, all that kind of thing. If you're still on the field, they're not going to leave. So he was leaving straight after training, which is kind of unlike Eddie's getting straight off, so I'm getting straight off. And if they were staying on, the younger players, they'd be getting in trouble. They're going, very unlike the Japanese training method previous through high school, but they were I loved it. And you're sitting around having meals like this, maybe not the peanut chocolate dates. You're having incredible food, natto, the fermented, and you're sitting around. They're speaking. I'm asking them to speak to me in Japanese, so that helps me learn. Yeah. And they're just people are people. Rugby's great. Doesn't matter where you play in the world. Rugby people are the same.
Speaking of eating, what was the weirdest thing that you ate in Japan? Because I mean, there was some strange stuff on the menu.
Random stuff.
I think I had some, chicken feet or something. I mean,
you get chicken skin crisps, which are actually really nice.
Yeah. Well, in Japan, probably the strangest thing I had was horse tongue.
Yeah.
At a yakiniku.
They probably
which I didn't know. I didn't know until I had it. And they said, "Oh, you know what you ate?" And I thought it was a bit chewy. And they said that was
shortest tongue.
You'd probably had that before in France, but they just didn't tell you.
The cheval.
Definitely tongue though, yeah. Definitely tongue.
I'm pretty sure it was
a couple
tongue.
of balls on the
I know where you're going.
Stick to Rugby, brought to you by Defender.
We'll just have a little quick review of the season. The Champions Cup winners, Bordeaux beat Northampton 28-20. I don't think you can complain too much if you're a Northampton fan. I think Bordeaux had a lot more power than the Northampton team.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it was I think Northampton's run to the final was epic. Bordeaux were always going to be, I mean, I think them beating Toulouse was a sure sign that maybe it was going to be their year this year. It felt to me like the final ended in a bit of controversy, which it didn't need to, because Bordeaux were by far the better team and deserved to win.
Yeah.
And, it's not often that...
They went straight for Pollock, didn't they?
Yeah, a bit naughty, really, because, I don't think I think they used that as their motivation.
Of course they did.
Because I've looked at everything he said in the build-up to the game. He didn't say anything.
That's how much they rate him, and how high they rate him for being such a youngster.
We've all been there. He's achieved more in his career in a year than anyone does in 5 years. So he just has to get used to the fact that he's now in that kind of that's how people regard him.
And the try he scored against Leinster,
he will be targeted every game.
The try he scored against Leinster is worthy of a false stake. It was incredible for a back row. He is so explosive.
Well, he was 2 metres away from scoring another one in the final that could have changed it.
Bordeaux winners of the Champions Cup. The Challenge Cup Bath, 37-12. They beat Lyon, I think. I don't think it was the greatest game. Finals often aren't because it's about winning. But I think when you look at these, I think the big squads, the big money squads, sort of come into their own a little bit with the strength and depth they've got. Lyon didn't really trouble Bath too much. It was pretty simple for them. But Bath have done what they're calling the treble, sort of. Because they won the Prem Cup, they won the Challenge Cup, but the big one for them was Leicester at the weekend. I think 1996, Lol, is that right? Was the last time?
Yeah, 29 years. George and I were there. I took your friend, Travis Clayton, who plays for the Buffalo Bills, who's English born. I think he was born here. He certainly grew up here. And he's playing for the Buffalo Bills, so he likes his rugby. George was there. I mean, it's not your first Prem final, George, but what did you think of that whole kind of occasion day? I mean,
the build-up was amazing. Yeah, it was 80,000. We all know it was sold out 3 weeks prior. The day was perfect. It was 25 degrees. People probably need to put some sunscreen on, which doesn't happen.
Yeah, I must have missed a bit actually.
Got a nice glow.
But the build-up was brilliant. Like the Leicester Tiger fans, they come in droves, and as do the Bath. So the build-up and the energy was there right from the get-go. And there was a nice little rock and roll rendition of the national anthem.
Sam Rice. Sam Rice.
It sort of belongs in the USA, doesn't it? Like at the start of a rodeo or something like that. Texas.
Not sure what King Charles would have thought of it, but
but it's different. You try stuff. You see it all the time. You see just standard national anthems.
It's super family friendly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And what you saw was like generations of supporters there, which I think is like everyone talks sometimes about the negative of our game. I think that was a real positive sign. Yes, there can only be one winner, but I thought it was an epic final. It came down to like a kick here, a moment which could change a season. So rightful final, both those teams being there.
For the neutral, like Leicester have won so many league titles. There was part of me that just wanted Bath to win because they came so close. You know, they're in the final last year, but a fitting way to end.
What's the big, Lewis? You still? I mean, you obviously you have to. I don't know what time you have to get up to watch any of these things. You know, you're obviously here now, but are you so busy that you don't take time to watch rugby anymore?
No, I think I've only missed 1 or 2 Gloucester games.
Okay.
I always get to catch the Gloucester games because the time difference, obviously, it's 5 hours behind in Florida.
Yeah.
So it's like midday when I'm watching games.
Yeah.
So I'm either doing that or I'm watching highlights of Gloucester. But I'm still keeping track of.
You were in the change rooms, weren't you, after one of the games recently?
Yeah.
I saw you in there.
Well, I went to both Wales Six Nations games.
Nice.
I went and watched Gloucester, Bristol, one of the last games of the season. So I'm still.
But you just got to remind him, of your phone number just in case, just in case. What's been your take out from the season? What was if we all have one little summary of the season? What would your highlight be when you commentated on the URC?
Yeah, Leinster, they beat the Bulls. Thank you very much. Probably that. It's not always down to.
Talk him up.
You don't often see the greatest games in the finals, I don't think. Yeah. Sometimes you might see that in the quarters, in the semis, but I think the final comes down to who plays the best knockout rugby, because ultimately it is about winning the final. You know, you can play well all season, you can entertain all season, but when it comes to a final, it is all about winning. So I think it's the best teams at the moment are the ones that just take the points. Yeah, take the points when they're off, win, and power. Power, you can't do anything without power. And you've got power, then it doesn't matter too much what you've got behind, because you'll always be able to go on the front foot.
Georgie, for you, I mean, we've got to get a prediction for the Lions. I mean,
Game 3.
Game 3. You're just going to go
game
down.
on. I think it's split. I think you'll get the first one. I think the Wallabies will respond because they have to. It's either it's sink or swim. So you have to go. And I think if you've got one in the pocket, you kind of know you've got 2 bites of the cherry to win it. So it might play out that way. And I think history shows 89, our series 2001, 2013 went to game 3. Yeah. We were blown off the park in 2013. And Jamie Robertson and the group and 007 came in to sort of lend his hand. Yeah. But I think it'll go to game 3. I think history shows that.
Yeah.
And then it's everything we just said. It's about who deals with the pressure and who wins those moments in the big match. And hopefully, and I've got my hand on my heart, I hope it's the Wallabies. But I think I think it's
the biggest thing is for me is that I look at them, there's so many exciting players in both teams.
Yes.
And both teams want to play.
So positive.
But we only want one winner.
We only want one winner, yeah.
I love the way you're talking.
But I wanted to go down to the third, and because the drama then.
I just can't see an Australian team in any sport being beaten 3-0 at home. Okay? That doesn't happen. So therefore, the Wallabies will show up, and they'll be a lot better, a lot more organised than people think. And I just hope they don't win the first one, because if they win the first one, then you are in squeaky bum time, really. So I do hope it's a very competitive series.
I think so. And I've looked into my crystal ball. I just saw a vision. I think I saw
Tom
Wright. Yeah, I saw it.
Yeah.
You inspire that image, Shank. It was Tom Wright's kick return just outside of his 22. Looks like he's going to kick, beats a few defenders, and are off to the races. And it might be the change.
Like watching Tom Wright.
12 more years. 12 more years.
We'll finish with a really quick quiz, I promise. What sport would it have been if you hadn't have played rugby?
I would like to have been a golfer.
Oh, nice.
You are a golfer. Very tiny one.
Funniest teammate?
Joe Roff.
Nice. Best player you played with?
Gee, he almost doubles up there. I played with some good ones. Roffey Larkham. I'll go with Roffey.
Okay. Best player you played against?
I'd go Zinni. I'll go with Zinni.
Nice. Most underrated player you played with?
Oh, it wasn't under. I'd say David Wilson. Nice. Before George Smith, then George Smith was George Smith.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Funniest front row comment you've heard in your career that you can repeat?
I think it was along the lines in the World Cup final. I'm not sure if it was Jace. One of them said, we went down, the Wallabies got a scrum penalty, and Andre Watson gave it to us. and he says, how could you politely have ruled it? Like, he's just gone to the ground. And Andre says along the lines of, like, I put my house on it, it was you. He says, I'm not sure how much your house is worth. He says, but that's a meaningful bet.
That's a bit correct, yeah.
Best day on a rugby pitch?
I think a World Cup final when you win it. It's good.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good one, isn't it? Toughest day on a rugby pitch?
Maybe the other side of that coin.
4 years later.
You can say both, yeah. As can I.
What would your teammates say about you?
Fun, caring, and competitive.
Nice.
Beautiful.
First car you owned?
I wish I had this car now. Holden Kingswood. 3 on the tree. Old school.
Was it?
Big. I wish I had this car.
All those words there. All those words there. Do you understand any of that? Hold the call.
It had the bench seat as well, just the one. It was old.
3 on the tree.
it?
Make out
Just slide
point.
over. You just wax it. Yeah, you just be going around.
Okay.
Slide it over.
Tell you word for it.
What is your favourite movie of all time?
Untouchables.
Good one.
Never. What a movie.
It's the best, isn't it?
Favourite book?
They pull a gun, you pull a knife.
Gee, that's a great one. I'll go with Get Shorty by Elmore Leonard.
Nice. And then if we were coming around for dinner, what are you cooking us?
We're going to have a little bit of Japanese to start, a little sashimi, a bit of ponzu sauce, ginger, fresh wasabi.
No horse
That's
tongue,
what
yeah.
you have. Save the tongue for last. Always save the tongue for last.
He loves it.
Main will be a nice ribeye, probably from
nice.
Cape Grim, Tasmania. We're all that, maybe from Bacon and Egg Bay. We'll have it just with frit and a nice little salad with a sort of probably an Asian influence dressing, just to give it a bit of spice. That's us, and then we'll finish always with a little espresso macchiato. That's the only amount of milk you'll get from me, and the dessert will be. I'm not a massive dessert person, but would probably go with like a basic but beautifully done baked cheesecake.
Next Wednesday.
Next
Lot, we good? I'll bring the wine.
you bring the wine, Lowell. It's got to be Italian.
Well, might be Australian.
Yeah.
And
obviously
we're
wine.
done. We're out.
Yeah, that's it.
Thank you.
George Gregan, thank you so much for joining us on Stick to Rugby.
Thank you, everyone. It's
It's been
fun.
amazing. Thank you.